It's showtime.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Oh, and we're unmuted. Okay. All right. Welcome to What's Next? My Thursday night show, the premiere show on the rabbit hole. The one I think is the most important. And tonight, I got a very special guest. This first in the series. Monday, I did a review of Snowman, Matt Martin's book. Went over 6 figures. It's all caps. Had all the advantages in the world, and absolutely was most amateurish writing I've seen in a long time. Even though it's beautiful, gorgeous book, great package, and so it got me thinking. I was like, there's people that got them both right, that got the writing and the art right. Why am I not promoting those guys more? And the number one guy on my list was this gentleman right here.
Hey.
Shadowpunk, welcome to the show, my friend.
What's up?
Hey. Usually around the beginning of the show, I do a little bit of a review, and just want you to know I revisited your comic again.
Oh, here it goes. It's going south fast.
Yeah, I know. Well, revisited. Still love the cover. Still cool. I love your graphic design.
Yeah.
I missed
I'll tell
this.
you.
I missed this though. I missed this 2-page spread. I think that's really cool. I
Thank
missed
you. Yeah,
that.
that was my I had to fill something there, and it's like people generally do put like what's coming up next, right? So
right,
I was lucky enough I had like a little spot for it, and it was also where I really liked the graphic part of the cover, and I couldn't really I couldn't really do that in the book.
No,
it just doesn't really translate that well. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go a little Frank Miller, and I'm gonna make it look a little bit Sin City-ish. Right. And that's
let me blow myself up here and show it again, where people can see it. So this is the look at that. It's just a really cool graphical style.
Yeah, that's probably 90% going to be the cover for number 2.
Gotcha.
But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to because on the second issue, I'm going to work really hard to elevate the art farther, so that it's the first book I've ever done.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was wrapping my head around it, and so now
Okay, everybody, just so you know, this is Shadowpunk, not 100% yet. Okay, this is what he's saying that he can improve upon.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I thank you. I really did think it. I thought it came out good and everything. I like it. But you know how comic book people are? They tend to go, if it looks like Todd McFarlane, I'm freaking blown away. And everything else is cool. That's really cool, right? Right.
Well, so art-wise, I went back and I reevaluated art-wise, and so the art-wise, with just the unique use of panels, the word balloon color, which was really unique. It's black with the blue lettering. That must have took you a long time to figure out, to come up with. And
you want me to tell you why?
At stuff like that, guys. Look at this.
Want me to tell you how I came about that? When first of all, like a chalkboard, white on black is the easiest to read.
Yeah, it is.
So, then what happened was the color of the book.
Yeah.
The second I put white balloons on it, it just fell apart. You just all you do is stare at the balloons.
Well, I mean, you still got the you still got the the big sound effects and stuff.
Yeah. So that was one of this, and then the second I did it, kind of how you do art things, you kind of mess around, and the second when something clicks, you know it.
Right.
You go just like when you write something, this is coming together, starts to gel, and that's you're on the right direction. So I remember thinking to myself, I don't remember seeing people do this kind of a thing. Right. Maybe people have done it, but I was like, you know what? I got to go with my gut.
Well, that Matt Martin book I got is absolutely incredible art-wise.
Yes, really.
But you know what? I honestly, I looked at them side by side, and I can't tell who the pro is.
Okay, that's
like little things like this. The way you colored it, and where you lit her eyes. There's like a shadow across her face, but you lit her eyes. That's cinematic.
That is cinematic.
That's extremely cinematic.
Very much so.
And even when you did the coloring, the way like her face, you like just lit like the tips of everything, because she's coming out of shadow, and it's just an eye. I know it comes a lot from your 3D modeling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a 2-page spread. Who does a 2-page spread about a rat?
Well, and
she's climbing it. Just her climbing into right there, climbing into it.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously also it's a parallel,
But the
right?
angle, though. Look
Yeah.
at the angle.
Yeah.
Who thinks of that? I mean,
Well,
honestly, I guess it's your 3D perspective, but that
it's what
is
it
just
is. That's
genius.
what it is. I lay my whole
Mhm.
book out in basic squares, shapes.
Right.
So that's
Well,
like that.
I mean, it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I haven't seen. There's some angles that you took in this comic I haven't seen since Eisner.
Wow.
I
I'll
mean,
tell you.
like that particular right there, the perspective on that must have took you hours to figure out.
You know what it was? So I had to. It did.
Mm.
And it took a long time because it probably took me longer than normal people.
Right.
Because I quasi build that stuff in the background in 3D.
Yeah.
Right. And then I draw the figures. And I draw the backgrounds too. I'll draw every single brick.
Well,
right?
you're like living AI or something. Okay.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I mean, you're not artificial intelligence, you're intelligence, but still.
No, there's
Mhm.
every facet of the book is hand done.
Oh yeah, I know.
But because I do come from a 3D background.
Okay. Right there,
So
guys.
if I told you how long I spent on that one, you would say you punched me in the face.
Oh, I believe it.
You say just stop it. Stop. Don't put raindrops on the balloons.
No.
You have to be efficient and get it done. And I probably spent at least a month on that one DPS.
Okay, I mean that right there, and you like use like little monitors as part of the makeup of the scene.
Yeah.
And I mean, I call every. I went back and I'm looking at it again, and I got to give it.
That's cool. Thank you. I mean, I don't know if really. I'm not objective. I don't know if it, because I don't know about the impact people have when they read it. Right? I have no idea because I wrote it.
Right.
I didn't read.
So, I'm just. I mean, it seems like I'm blowing smoke, but look at it. I mean, honestly, I get books all the time. And some from people who everybody like. They basically wank off to looking at their panels. Okay. I mean, they literally, there's people in this community that just jizz at the very mention of a panel from, Edwin Escovedo or somebody like that.
Sure.
And I got books from him. I got books from all these guys, and this is no step down at all.
Well, I appreciate that.
As a matter of fact, you're better than you're better than a lot of what I see. What's up? What up, Coop and Matthew? What's there?
What's up, Wolfer? What's up, Edwin?
Hey, man, good to see you.
So my basic thought was that I wanted when people read the book, and they looked at the artwork, I wanted people to know that the person who made it cared about every single part of it. And by the way, the word economical is out of the discussion.
Oh, totally out of obviously.
To me, the second you go, oh yeah, he did his part and he did his part, and that's what it became. That is not how I ended up working, and then it's a detriment too.
No,
because you end up, you don't know what is going to work and what isn't going to work. And I think there are things in the book where I go, in retrospect, I don't know if that worked really as cool as I thought. There's a DPS where she's jumping into the fight, where she's got her staff, and I spent another month at least on that, trying to figure out.
I can tell.
And I don't know if it was worth it, to be honest with you.
Well, there's a problem here, Wookie Fever. It's not currently for sale. You have to go to the man himself. He does have copies, but you have to go directly to him.
Yeah, definitely hit me up. I'll definitely send you one.
I mean, the thing about it is you can't be quantitative about this, okay? I mean, you can't like sit there and say, "What was it worth it?" Well, did it please you? Did it fulfill you? I mean, did it make you smile when you were done with it? Did it make you feel like you've accomplished something? Then it was worth it, even if nobody sees it, as long as you got it out of yourself and it to the level that you wanted it, then yeah, I mean, maybe you're not selling, 6-figure campaigns, but when I get books that sold 6 figures and there was no care, there was no concern, there was never no thought given to the characters, to the story, to the plot, to anything but the images, that's a missed opportunity to me.
Well, it
And
is.
and I'm like, if you had enough time to sit here and redraw, guys getting their entrails tied around their neck, over and over again, then surely you can come up with a character beat that's going to make me care about somebody, you know. And
Well,
so
that is a challenge. That thing you just described right there.
things I asked my wife afterward. There you go.
It's not an easy feat to make people care about your character.
No, it is not. And that brings me to the second part. Okay. So I went back and I reread. And I reread with an eye to maybe, I've read it a couple times, but I went back and reread it this time with just a completely critical eye. Try to divorce myself and just go
objective.
back, try to be as objective as possible. And to be honest, I couldn't do it.
Okay. Well,
I couldn't do it. You know why? It's because of this little touch that you gave her. The glasses.
Right.
The little dime store glasses that she puts on, because even in this dystopian wasteland, even though she's abandoned by her, by life and her family, she's still like carefree enough to put on these goofy glasses that you're not going to wear for any other reason than you have a playful spirit.
Yeah, that's so. You know how we were talking earlier
to her little friend later, and it's just like,
right. And so you know how we were talking earlier, when you write a story, when you put an element in and it all gels.
Yeah,
the glasses were like that, and they're in the animated movie. And I was like, you know what? Should I keep them? Should I throw them away?
Yeah.
And they're in the animated movie because I saw them in the Logan movie.
Right. Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, that's a cool thing. And they're not exactly the same, right? I could have had.
Oh, that's right. Daphne Keene put on those little glasses, and it's a very girl thing to do.
Very.
It's just like there's a playful heart there, even in the midst of this dystopian wasteland. It's just, that's just nonstop grinding, horribleness, and she still, she still wears these glasses to kind of like. There's an innocence that's still there, and of course, brutal, sadistic monster you are. You do your best to get rid of it by the end of the book, but
it's got to be tough for your hero, right? I mean,
I know, but I know the book Hero's Journey, and obviously you've read it. There's elements. Well, I mean, there's definitely elements in here.
It is a hero's journey, yeah.
But it's a hero's journey, as it were. But when I went back and read it, trying to just look at plot elements, try to look at, I also had to take into account the movie, the 9-minute movie that you made that we're going to watch here shortly.
Sure.
But I was thinking about these elements, and they're foreshadowing that you do in that movie, and there's things that you foreshadowed in that 9-minute movie that you worked 4 years on and labored in obscurity, labored in your privacy of your home. But there's things that don't pay off until the last few pages of this book,
right?
And you foreshadowed it multiple places, and so the reason why the end of this book hits like a thud, I mean, hits like a ton of bricks. Not going to ruin it for people. Want people desperately to get this book, but the reason why it just lands is because you set it up. And one of the criticisms I have, with Matacumba Key, the Graham Nolan's latest,
Right.
but he didn't foreshadow something that he put it in the back of the book, and he was like, all his advertisements was like, oh, this ties it all together. This ties it all together, right? It's all connected, okay? But then you go all the way through that book, and it's like, well, how's this connected? How's this connected? And then suddenly, blah, there's this panel at the end where, a lot of these characters are like show up, and it's like, there's no there's no setup, there's no there's things all throughout the book series that get paid off right here.
Right.
But I'm like, why didn't you work on a way, which I could see several ways that you could foreshadow this, or you could set this up, and he didn't do that. It's like he got all the way to the end, and he's like, oh, let me tie all this together, and then I can advertise this. This is the payoff, and it was like, this is just a marketing scheme the way you did it. I didn't really see any forethought there. It just seemed like, oh, I gotta put this in because I promised it, But you got things in here that like you foreshadow on page 1.
I do,
and I can tell that you like mentally.
That was my way
to
make it shocking at the end, and go, oh, wait a second, maybe I knew about that earlier. Right? There were things that were alluding to it.
Right.
I don't know. Right? Because there's probably other ways to do it. Right? I mean,
there really isn't.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe I couldn't. I don't.
Well, the thing that takes though is that takes like being precious about the story. The story was the thing. The characters was the thing,
Right.
And what these guys don't understand is spectacle is nice, but spectacle doesn't break your heart. Spectacle doesn't grab you and make you like fear for somebody or root for somebody or care. A spectacle doesn't do that. And these guys, they have plenty of spectacle.
Big time.
I mean, plenty of spectacle. My God, there's panels in that snowman that will make you weep. They're so good.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, I probably won't revisit the book. And that's what breaks my heart, is because if you had taken some time, there's obviously like pages and pages and pages that are just like monotonous because it's pretty much the same thing happening. It's just different ways of slaughtering somebody.
Right. You said that in the review.
Yeah. But here, every time somebody gets hurt, every time somebody gets killed, every time something happens to somebody, you feel it. It's not monotonous, okay? There's a death in here that, absolutely just floored me.
And it makes sense for the story. You understand why that would exactly
happened. You set it up, but you had this character that you did something kind early on in the book. And it's the first act of kindness you see happen for Mara, And so when something happens to that one person later on, it hurt.
It hurt. And you see why her being young, she fell for it. It was almost like an unavoidable trap.
Yeah.
Right? You'd have to be very experienced to go, there's more going on here. Right? One of the things I realized watching movies, especially, and comic books, especially with movies, because in some ways they're more powerful, more potent in certain ways, is that it's so awesome for the reader to have to get something at the end of a story. Right? It's satisfying for you to go, wow, I tracked what was happening and it paid off. And
Yeah.
it's like it's easy to talk about. It's hard to figure out. And I'll tell you, I've told you, I've rewrote the story so many times.
Yeah.
Right. And so and then I had to work it out and figure out in my head. You know,
Right.
you got to give the reader something, and you
You
got
do.
to make it hit. Right.
Well, you're the first reader. And
That's
so
true.
if you're not hurt by the story, or you're not, if it doesn't make you bleed, then what do you expect people to care? And I read story after story, and I'm like, this was the script was just was like optional for them. The script was just like, oh, this is how I framed the art. The script was just like,
Right.
well, it's a comic
Vehicle
book
for the
story.
art.
Yeah, the script is I have to have a script, so I know what cool image to draw next.
Right.
And it's just such a missed opportunity because
Big time.
the the story that changed my life, Power Pack, when they went to Mutant Massacre tunnels, and they went there to find their buddy Leech, okay, Leech and Artie, and they go down there, and it's horrible. I mean, it's a massacre. I mean, this is not soft images. And one of the little girls breaks down, when they see one of the and then when they get to Leech, they have to tell him that his adopted mama. It was one of the people killed, and they saw her body, and they're having to and they're explaining it to him in a way kids would.
Right.
And he's like, Leech won't mama, has tears rolling down his face. And it's just like, man. I mean, even today, I get a little bit,
Sure.
mainly because of my own losses. But, the thing about it is, go ahead.
The thing is, though, and this is the reality about making crowdfunding books.
Yeah.
A lot of the people in our circle that watch these videos and we go on our own shows and stuff, we're not the big books,
No.
right? And to me, it's like we don't have the luxury of not squeezing out everything we can out of our story.
Yeah.
Right. To me, it's like because I made $6,900, which by the way is awesome for me because I learned that was my first book, and I was able to ramp up and figure out what the heck is going on with crowdfunding, right? And but these guys are making buckets of money, and it's kooky, and you go they can kind of rest a little bit and give people the red meat, right?
I mean, the thing that kills me is if you have no interest in writing a script, if the script is just like a vehicle for your art to you, then get somebody who has game to do it for you. For God's sake, hire somebody who has game to do it for you. And there's other people out there besides Chuck Dixon. And I mean, it's great that Chuck Dixon gets so much work, but there's other writers out there. There's a lot of awesome writers out there that you could use. And the thing about it is, if you don't have it in you to tell the story, but you want to draw the story, then hire somebody that can tell the story and then work off of their script. Okay. I mean, what I see in all these books that I get from these gigantic creators and who just like, I just put that, I did this thing. Money, throw, please, gimme, and just the campaign goes through the roof first day. I mean, it passes me in the first few seconds.
Right.
But then when you get it, it's completely soulless. It's completely soulless. And I'm like, oh, another art book.
And,
and there's boobs. Okay. This girl who does absolutely nothing and has no personality traits. Oh, she's dancing on a pole. There you go.
There's an old saying that says nothing fails like success. Okay. And this is a good example of that. And I'm not pointing fingers at any one people, creators or whatever, because we all have things we do good and bad. Okay.
Right.
But the theory is that if you are striving to make the best book or the best product, right? And you're not making a lot of money, and you're really tooth and nail. That's when you're going to make the best stuff.
There you go. I don't write a script. The script writes me.
That's a good point. I mean, and I think that's
speaking of writers.
Right.
Why don't you hire this guy?
Right.
Hire this guy. Okay.
Totally. So I think that is something that happens with big creators where they just go, okay, I'm going to give them I'm not going to sweat bullets to try to get the best. And I think all the lower creators, bad word, but the smaller creators, that's what we are doing. We're sweating bullets to try to get anybody to even look at our book, right? I mean, that is just nature of the world. It is what it is, I mean, it's fair. It's a fair thing because it's not a control thing, right?
Well, I just, it's like the conversations I've had with some of these bigger creators over FMC. And it's like, well, I haven't seen any 6-figure campaigns over there. And it's like, that's not the point, And it's like, okay,
really?
do you want this to move forward? Do you want this independent space to move forward? Okay. By supporting these platforms that we know are going to censor people and suppress people, what you're pretty much ensuring for your own short-term gain that you're not helping things move forward because of your own short-term gain. And that's I can't understand that logic, because they get on their shows and they're like, oh, let's move it forward. Yeah, let's keep comics alive. This is how you keep comics alive.
Right.
Things like this right here, like Shadowpunk.
Right.
I mean, that's raise the art form.
Well,
okay, I'm actually thinking of taking commissions during the year. Hire me when my next book blows up.
Do it.
Pendragon is going to blow up.
It looks great, man. It looks awesome.
To blow up. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding you. But the thing about what you did here that I wanted to really put a spotlight on. Let me show some things right quick. Now, you did some development or you did like an advertisement for your comic, and I saw this like once upon a time, but I kind of forgot about this, and I was looking through your stuff, and I was like, okay, and this is okay. You want to talk attention to detail? Look at this shit right here.
There it is, right? My trailer number 2, right? It was it's
but I mean, watching it after the fact and realizing where some of these scenes came from, and I was watching it today and I was like, holy crap, he had so many Easter eggs in that. I mean, so many freaking Easter eggs. I mean, this is somebody that like dots every freaking I and crosses every freaking T. It's nuts. Yep. Poor scrappy artist, punk, jazz, punk rock, whatever the Beatles were. Right. Exactly.
You really
and they make the best art when they're broke too.
You know what? You really have to be desperate when you're making stuff and trying to, because once you rest on stuff, and by the way, I think they all do, right? If you're the Beatles or whatever, I mean, it isn't really rocking when you're old, right?
No.
When you're rich. And it's one of those things with the books. You have to literally be sweating bullets to hope that people are going to see your work and like it. And by the way,
at the same time, there's a certain element of you doing this for yourself.
There is,
because you don't really know if anybody's going to see it, and so
That's
you
true.
don't really play to the room. You you're closer to the source. You know?
As an artist, my whole life, you just tend to develop an approach that goes, you recognize the second you are economical with how you do things, you kind of lost it.
Yeah.
So you have to take it to 11 for the wrong way of saying it, right? You've got to go, you got to go to the, you think it's acceptable as the art. Your standards got to be way up there. And, that's the approach I took with everything when I did motion graphics, compositing, which you see in the movie. I always took that approach. And by the way, it's always benefited me. And I think a lot of the people in CG do that. I think that they have projects where they just go, I love comic books and I want to make something awesome.
Yeah.
I see that a lot. But I also sometimes I see things that are economical.
Yeah.
And it's probably, the economical people are the savvier business people. And they're like, I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna know how much money I'm gonna make. And I'm like, I totally get that. I cannot think that way, dude.
No,
I gotta go balls to the wall on everything I do and hope that stuff sticks to the wall. Right?
There you go.
Really is. It's just
throw that spaghetti. Throw that spaghetti.
You can't be a good artist unless you do that. In my mind,
people talk about people like Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh never had a period where he was popular.
Right.
Never sold a painting during his lifetime.
Right.
And when you look at all his paintings, they were paintings of somebody who never thought anybody would ever see it, but just was painting for his sheer joy of it and sheer enjoyment of it. And that's what really makes him special is the vibrancy that you see in those paintings.
What I see in stuff like that, like in his work, is I see somebody who has been doing it so long, and it's the paint stroke is it's like brushing his teeth. It's just natural. He's not thinking at all.
No,
he's not going, okay, I'm going to start to layer, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's literally, I'm going to just work from these. And when you do that, you see that a lot of artists, when they draw, like really good artists, when they've been drawing with pencil for 30 years, the pencil isn't careful. It's like, it's super accurate, but it looks like you did this. Yeah. Right. It looks got life to it, and you can't fake it.
Well, Norman Rockwell, he's an example of somebody that never lost it. Because here he was on the cover. Everybody knew Norman Rockwell in the world. He was like world renowned, and yet when you look at his stuff, it still had a quirkiness to it. It still had a boy shining through. He's still close to the source, and he never lost that his whole entire life. And and so I'm just saying. I mean, being successful doesn't preclude that, doesn't erase that. I mean, there's people that are like, if you make any money at it, then you sold out.
Right.
Those people are idiots too. Okay.
Right.
But I'm just saying that if you had the resources that some of these guys do to sit down day after day and crawl through your book and get it right, and then have the ability to like hire the best of the best to come in and help you do this and accomplish this, why wouldn't you put out the best product possible? And in every conceivable way, not just art.
Yeah.
Every way.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that are legendary, the people we still talk about, Born Again, the greatest Daredevil arc.
Oh, right.
And drawing it, right?
Right.
It's still the images that we have. When I bring up Born Again, you think of Elektra getting stabbed and it's coming out the back of her, right? And that's a visceral image, but at the same time, you remember the story also.
You know what I think of when I think of that storyline? I think of a guy who's contending with his faith, it's a tragedy. I think tragedy.
Yeah.
And it's I think a lot of
Dark Knight Returns, him kicking Batman kicking Superman in the chin.
Right.
That image. I mean, That's incredible.
It
That's
is.
one of the greatest moments in all of comicdom
Anytime.
when he was like choking Superman out and then he let him up. And he says, I just want you to remember in all these years, the one man who beat you. And then he dies in his arms, and it's brilliant, okay? But it's writing and it's art.
Yeah.
It's somebody who didn't see one as bigger than the other, that understood the medium is writing at art at the at the hybrid, okay? And you understand that.
I try to understand that. Yeah. I mean,
This right here, I mean, when I say this is 6 out of 6, oh, by the way, the when I reevaluated the writing, okay, I gotta give you your writing. So, okay, this is writing. Okay, there you go.
I don't think I would definitely not give my. I mean, you're a writer. I'm not. So I appreciate that.
Yes, you are.
Well,
You are a writer.
I am now.
You are a writer. Don't I mean?
Right.
If writing this doesn't qualify you for being a writer, I don't know what does.
So do you want me to tell you my challenge? Some of the challenges I had.
Oh yeah,
okay.
please.
Okay. The plot and the dynamics are things that I can work on and figure out.
Yeah.
And to the degree that I can, right? Mm-hmm. So someone like you also has an extra skill because you've been writing for a long time as a linguist. So you could even do a better job of writing the characters' voices, right? Because you're used to doing it, right? And it's the thing you've always paid attention to, right? So and I haven't, and so that was one where I worked hard and tried to get something, and then the turn of phrase, right? That's something I don't really bother to in my life pay attention to some degree, right? So
there's something that compensates for that. Joe Catapano, if you read the first Star Circuit, he talks about that when he wrote his first script, he realized he wasn't good enough, and so he learned to get good enough to write his own script and to write it up to the standard that he wanted. And when he realized his art wasn't good enough, he raised his level on his art and then he went into it. And so attention to detail and caring about the end product makes up for a lot of lack of experience. Okay. And you look at a lot of these groups that are later more accomplished, okay, musically, but when you listen to the early stuff, there's a brilliance there that was there at the first. Beatles' early stuff, they were doing cover tunes. They were a cover band, but something about the way they interpreted those songs, and the detail that they went into. When you listen, the Isley Brothers version of Twist and Shout, okay,
right.
They did something way in the background that the Beatles, when they reinterpreted it, they included as part of their brought it to the front. And you hear it in Isley Brothers in the back. There's this woo part, and the Beatles like featured that part, while the Isley Brothers had in the background. And
I got you right.
But
so
it was
the nuances make up for a lot.
Exactly,
and it's also something, obviously, the reader.
Yeah.
So when I think a lot of people do this. Right. I put a lot of small things in the book because Cooper might see X, Y, and Z, but Aaron might see A, B, and C. Right?
Well, every time, the reason I reread this book is because every time I get into that book, I see something that I missed.
My aunt who read it, who's not a comic book reader, right? She went out of her way to talk to me about it, and she said the same thing.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay, I guess. And I was like, okay, she's my aunt. She's super nice. She loves me, right? Super supportive no matter what, and all that stuff. But I'm like, maybe there's a lot of true, accuracy to that.
Well,
maybe the things I added paid off a little bit.
Well, women look at fiction differently. Women look for emotional resonance. They don't really look for technical skill. They look for emotional resonance, which is why some of women's fiction is so god awful. You know, I mean,
Right.
50 Shades of Grey. Excuse me.
There is a thing called Jane Austen, though.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they can't be technically savvy too, but I'm just
Right.
saying for the most part, that's not really what they feature. And so if you got like to somebody's feels, you know, a woman's feels, then you did a good job there. Which is also why modern art is falling down so much, is because it's so technically inferior, but you know, because all they cared about was the emotional resonance. They didn't really care about plot. They didn't care about character. They just cared about emotional resonance, which is why you get like you know, emotional outpouring, and sitting around eating food and talking about it, you know. And
Well,
but you know, as guys, you know, we want to be more technical about it, you know, really. And that's why the hybrid works the best.
right.
And
When I did the first book, I put the chapters and I built them into the artwork,
yeah,
which I've always loved that shit. Okay, so I'm fucking doing it, right? And
yeah,
the other reason I did it that nobody ever mentioned, because maybe
right.
nobody cared, was I gave spots for people to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a 56-page book,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, you know, I personally don't like sitting down for 16,000 hours reading one thing.
Yeah, like this right here.
Yeah.
The title is it's
The
like
bricks.
graffiti. Yeah.
So it's to me, I wanted people to go, it's another dimension, and it's also so the reader doesn't have to have a spot, stop, and pick it up later on. I don't know if anybody ever did that, but that was the kind of logic in my mind.
Well, there's a pace. Pacing is usually my biggest problem with a lot of these books. There's they do like a breakneck pace, you know, from start to finish. And Snowman had this problem where it's just action, because the person just wanted to draw action. They didn't really, you know, think about the character moments. And so when the characters did, they like stood around and expositioned at each other, and then it's back to action, right?
Right.
And you could tell it's just somebody that didn't understand that the brush that they could use, that they can make the action more resonant, that they could make the action more impactful if they had story, you know, and characters. I mean, even in a horror comic, which, you know, let's face it, it's going to be about high body count. You know, and your book has a lot of horror elements in it, okay? And let's face it, it's going to be a high body count. But the movies that like impact people, like Sixth Sense, okay? You know, nobody really dies in Sixth Sense. At least you don't think it does. But then you find out that you did watch somebody die, right? But it's like held all the way to the end. And then in that way, you got to meet the person. You got to go with the person. You got to like ride along with this person. And so when that end comes, and I've watched like people react to Sixth Sense that didn't know. And then they get to the end of it, and you just watch people like tears is rolling down their face, and they're like, are people going like, "Oh my god," you know?
You know, it's been said a bunch of times. M. Night Shyamalan, really fucking smart guy. And when you watch his movie, not every movie is as well made as the one you just Sixth Sense.
Well, see, the thing about it is though, is that was early on. That's when he was still hungry,
right?
You know,
that's what I'm talking about.
And he took the chances, but he like paid attention to like, but when he had all the money and all the goodwill in the world to where he could just like do whatever, and he didn't have any like anybody breathing down his neck, or didn't feel like he needed to accomplish anything. He got lazy. But then what happened was when he got bloated and he had his first failure, what happened? He went back to the drawing board, and the next thing he put out was brilliant.
You have to, you know, you really got to be working hard to get the best product for people.
Yes.
I know it's been said 1,000 times, but it's one of those things where we all, you know, and it's human nature just to get lazy, right? Especially as we get older, we end up going, you know, Yeah, the other thing that really benefited me a lot as a writer, and you and I have talked about this, was writing the animated movie.
Yeah.
Because that was the first thing I wrote, and I realized at the end of it, because you can't really, with animation, you can't go back.
Right.
Right. It's like I can't spend another year tweaking and changing the story.
Do you have it pulled up? Do you have the movie pulled up?
Yeah, we can talk about it. Well, we can talk about it while we
let's do that. Yeah, just share it with me.
Oh, okay.
And I'll pull it up.
All right. Sorry. People.
Okay, what you're about to see, guys, is 4 years of work. Okay, this is 4 years of work. And it shows, okay? To sell this comic right here.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to turn the audio off so we can still talk.
Well, you can turn it down some.
Okay.
Just turn it down. Just raise
so
it up a little bit.
I built these cities, you know, and this is when I wasn't sure what the story would really be about.
Yeah.
But I took forever developing her as a character.
Oh, yeah.
What she, you know,
right.
You've got to look at her and go, you're sympathetic to what's going on with her, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it was challenging for me. I spent months and months trying to come up with something that looked that way. That scene right there with the robot turning into the city, that took forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can tell. You can tell. Yeah, yeah. Bring the sound up a little bit.
Into cement, right?
Yeah, bring
That's
the
how
sound up a
challenging
little
it
bit.
was.
Just a little bit. Where we can hear it.
There you go. So move through the logo, which is kind of fun.
I love that. I love that.
There's an angel and a devil on each side of her.
Right.
That's this scene right here with this little house took me. I mean, building that house, because those are really high-res textures that are right next to her on the screen. And you don't know what you need until you need it. And then you're like, wow, this very, very challenging.
The turn back was the first foreshadowing, you know, and then the detour sign falling down and you seeing what's behind it. That's foreshadowing too. So
right. Yeah, so all these pieces are separate. Like I would render the foreground with her running, and then I would put the sky in there, and I would use compositing software where I could take the camera from the 3D scene and pull it into the compositor, and that way the clouds would track exactly with the scene, and I would do that with all of them. Right.
Well, you see, the fact that you didn't you put like her name on the bag just in case people didn't understand it was her name.
Yeah, that's why it comes right up to the front of the screen and you can read it. Right?
The skull on the bolt.
The skull and the bolts.
That's just genius. Oh, hey, John.
Going through the can. I thought that'd be kind of fun.
Oh, it is. It's very cool, man.
You got to just have fun things, you know, fun things for the viewer to get into. One of the things I added on to the animation was depth of field. So, like the background was fuzzy, but she's the focus.
Yeah.
I use as much of that as I can on this because it's like a real world camera quality thing.
Right.
It gives so much nuance. You know, the backgrounds are more blue far in the distance, and then up front they're warmer. Right.
Right.
It's kind of like standard stuff, but it's really challenging to do. Like you see the focus right there, boom. You know, that was kind of fun to do.
Oh yeah. That symbol, the little symbol on the
yes.
We haven't seen that symbol yet. I'm wondering. I know that's significant.
It's in the book.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys want to watch the movie, I just posted it I'm gonna pin it, but you can go back and watch the So that's pinned in the chat if you want to watch this movie, guys. It's on Shadowpunk's.
So in the story, it was really important
Right.
for me to establish that she was a daddy's girl kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so she was contentious with her mom because her mom was trying to be.
Well, that's pretty much how all women or girls are with their mothers. I mean, that's foreshadowing right there.
That is definitely foreshadowing. I wanted to find a way to go where this ideal, and then the creature at the end is also foreshadowing because the way she looks in the comic book kind of comes from her experience here.
Yeah.
Right. He's got kind of studs and he looks like he's kind of like a punk rocker kind of thing, or I don't know what you call it.
Well, the little subtlety of facial cues, her like rolling her eyes.
Right.
And the dad kind of like, you know, I mean, there's just so much subtlety there.
There's a lot. And I'll tell you what, when you animate it, you don't even, it's challenging to get that. And I probably, and as much as I've got it, I probably got it 50% of where I probably should have gotten it.
Right.
Because it's that hard to do, right? You can't see it while you're animating.
Well, I mean, well, I mean, it's like you can't. This is just incredible. I mean, I know you only see the flaws, but trust me, this is just a jaw dropping that one individual at home on his own, like a laptop, is like done something like this. I'm sorry, I know it's a desktop, but you know, but that's just incredible. The rendering, the hours and hours of rendering this must have took, you know?
Yeah, it really did.
Look at that, the canvas, the way the canvas is like rippling.
That was a big deal, getting that to work that way. And I could tell you how I did it, and you would go, "Huh?"
Yeah, exactly.
But it's, yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but it pays off.
By the way, you got the rednecks right. The mullet was perfect.
Yes,
you got the rednecks correct. Yeah,
gotta have the mullet. You know.
But you know, I mean, it's like there's a dangerousness to this interaction that they have and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I mean, he pulls out a knife on her, and you're like, "Whoa, this world plays for keeps," you know. And even the reflection of the red light on the oil on the ball.
Yeah, right.
I know. I mean, you just watch this over. It looks like blood. And I know that was deliberate.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like nuances, like when the ball hits the camera, right?
Well, all throughout the book, you use that same shade of red all throughout the book, and
totally.
and it's in the movie too.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, you thought this stuff out. I mean, this is just like, and she's like, "Bring it on!" You know, she's not scared of a guy with a knife. What? So what kind of world is
coming
this?
Up right? I'll show you my favorite shot in the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's when she's looking up through.
Oh, I can guess.
Because the lighting on the face, I was like, "Well, that actually came out really good." You know?
Yeah,
that's a great one. Yeah. I think that might be it, or it might be when she looks up. I'm not sure. But see, yeah, so he's foreshadowing as to what she's going to look like in the comic book.
Right.
Yeah, that's another one right there. And see how this spins, how the camera spins, rotates.
Right.
That was nice. I wanted to make that, you know. It just gave it motion, it gave it life.
It's very cinematic. I forgot. I forgot to load your GIF up. There you go. But yeah, you got the credits in here. Yeah, I forgot to load your GIF up. So I made a GIF out of that.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
GIF, whatever.
Yeah, that's
Or
awesome.
whatever. There you go.
There it
There
is.
you go.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you ever do live streams, I think I sent you a copy of it.
No, when I was doing live
Mhm.
streams, when I was modeling, 3D modeling, I used it. Yeah, so it's really cool. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes. So
oh, okay, cool.
so yeah, so a lot of
Let me,
there's a lot of foreshadowing in the animation for the book, and when you said it, it makes sense. I did the watching the animated movie actually pays off when you read the book, right? And I was like,
it does.
I guess that's probably true.
It makes that ending. It is. It makes that ending even more impactful. I mean, I'm you know, it seems like I'm being hyperbolic here, but I literally turned off the light and just sat there in the dark after I read the end of that.
That's crazy.
I mean, it just it got me so hard. You know, that last page. You know, even that last word balloon, the thing that she says, because you're not sure up to that moment
what's going on.
And then when she says that, it's like you find out Malcolm has been dead all along. I mean, it's the same kind of impact. Anyway, let me. This is 3D modeling. This is something else that you've been doing. So
there she is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, can I just tell you something? When I was working on my campaign, and I knew that would be a big thing for me to make to get over that hurdle. When I made that, I was like, what the fuck is that? Even I was like, I mean, it's one of those things, you make your own creation, you're like, what just happened? Right? Because I was able to get her pose in a way that framed everything. And I was like, what the fuck, man? This is something different than I ever planned. And even though I made less than $7,000, I'm just like, this is something I never would have thought it would come out that cool. You know, honestly.
Well, I mean, it's like Ironside's glass arm. When I first came up with that, you know, the moment that I saw it in my mind's eye, you know, I saw the bone light up and you know, I told my artist about it. I said, you know, and then he's like, wow, that's a cool idea. And then when he rendered it, just to see it, you know, and you just tap into something, especially when you really have characters. You know, when you have an actual character, when you have an actual like being that you're trying to tell the story of, it's like a responsibility that you have, and they become something more than just a creation to you. They become friends. They become like somebody, and then you have to put them through their paces, or otherwise you don't have a story. And it's just like I don't know. I don't know if that's the way God feels when we have to go through crap, you know, to get to where He needs us to go.
Sure.
But I think it pretty much it's about as close to God as you get. You know, creating and like telling a story of somebody. And especially if you really get you really have a character where they really have a personality. They really have their own way they move around, you know, way they move through their world is different than you. It's not a self-insert. This is something that comes from outside of you that you're trying to portray to people.
It happens, and when like you just described it with Ironsides, when I was doing my project, there were multiple moments where I was some of these parts just made something that I didn't plan for. Now I recognize it, and it's got to be part of the story. And it happens a lot. I mean, I think that John Longbox, when he did the Patriarch, you can just tell it's there, right? You go, some of the parts now became something that is.
I'm not looking at a caricature. I'm not looking at a cool art piece. I'm looking at a being, somebody in a universe somewhere. I'm getting a view into this universe.
Well, you know what I think it is? It's also, for me, it's the combination of factors are unique.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, you go, that's a character that I have not seen before. Right? I know John thinks somehow it's connected to Superman. I gotta just be honest, I never thought anything of Superman when I saw that character.
Right.
I mean, that's my personal point of view.
I thought of Reed Richards myself.
Did you? Okay.
You know, Reed Richards, but maybe with you know, if you took like Reed Richards and Superman and kind of like maybe a touch of, you know, Doc Savage or something like that.
Right. But you recognize right away, you go, there's something unique here.
But yeah, exactly. And I call it, you know, when I read something and I went somewhere, you know, when I read something and I was transported and there's nothing that took me out of it, you know, where I actually felt like I met somebody, or that I traveled with somebody, that I took a journey with somebody, that I'm going to like reread that, because that's a friend that I'm going to visit, that I'm going to talk to again, that I'm going to want to see again. Like Monster MD did that for me. I've read that book multiple times, you know, but I don't really revisit a lot of books that I get, because I didn't really meet anybody that I'm going to miss, or that I'm going to want to see, or that I'm going to want to journey with. That was what's so great about the X-Men, or so great about Spider-Man, or somebody like that, because they were people you wanted to visit, people you were invested in, people that you cared about. And it's like, if we're going to replace these iconic characters, you know, that have pretty much at this point are meat puppets, that no longer have any kind of like agency. They're just mouthpieces for some future barista, you know. But when we cared about them, when we wanted to see more, we wanted to take those journeys with them, we would buy the next comic. We would, you know, we would watch the next movie, because
I've noticed that. I've noticed that happening when whether it's Wolverine or Spider-Man or any of those. Batman is a good example where you go, I'm invested in that character, and so we recognize those characters have been honed and sharpened for 100 years or whatever, 80 years. Okay, but the fact that you read my book and you actually sat down and thought about it after you read it, I mean, to me, the small creators, we have to that's like shooting for the moon, trying to get anybody to get to that point. Right. I mean, it's a goal you have to. And by the way, if you don't shoot for anything in that realm, then I don't know what you're doing.
I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. You know, I mean, you got these resources, you got these, you know, this incredible ability. Why wouldn't you want to actually have a story, to actually have characters? Why wouldn't you want to put something into the world, use this ability to like change people, to change, to introduce people to somebody that they're going to care about, you know? And
but in terms of selling your products, we have to make money. Okay. I've got to make money. I mean, okay, you're going to have to tap into something like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so they have the luxury of not having to do that, because they're the big dudes, you know. Yeah. And so, in my mind, we don't have the luxury of that.
No, we don't. And you know what? It makes for a better book. It just does. And I honestly think that a lot of these guys, because of their immediate success, are not hungry like they should be. You know, I think it's like it's like turning down FMC, turning down the ability to go onto a website that somebody from this community, somebody from,
It's a
supposedly
no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Supposedly your fans, somebody was one of your fans made this thing, spent all their money that they didn't have. They don't have your resources. They spent their severance pay from a lost church job which is their family's immediate future, and invested it in this thing. Why wouldn't you want to support that? If you're getting six figures every single campaign, then obviously you're not suffering. Why not even do a second chance on FMC? But
here's the other thing, though, because I've seen people do one platform and then do another, right? So let's just hypothetically say they didn't like FMC when they did it, which wouldn't make sense. But let's just say that they didn't. Okay, right. It's very easy to go back.
Yeah.
So what's
there's no risk here.
They're gonna charge you less money on FMC.
Yeah.
Right. Which, by the way, I think Luke did a phenomenal job.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant website.
It's brilliant, and it's made by somebody in the community. It's solid.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What's the problem?
And even better, once you get through that first process and it goes out on the website, there's not going to be any banning. There's not going to be any deboosting.
That's true.
And once it's safe enough for work that it goes through, that his lawyers are going to be okay with it, then it's on the site. And he's had multiple campaigns that he was the only website that these people could find.
Really?
That would host them. Private American got banned from every major.
That's right.
Crowdfunding site.
Kickstarter, Indiegogo,
and even Crowdfunder, I think it was, whatever name it is. But he and Luke Stone basically said, "You're part of the reason why we're here. Why don't you come host it over here?" And so he brought Private American over to Fund My Comic. And it's like, you're one of the reasons why we're here,
It almost makes no sense. And I wonder if there's a factor I just don't know about.
Uh-huh.
Because it makes so little sense to not go on FMC.
It doesn't make any sense. And I lost all respect for the guy I interacted with. I know you ain't going to miss me. I know you don't give a shit one way or another.
Okay.
I'm just the face in the crowd to him, but his name is on big, mainstream books. What does he care that one solitary fan doesn't approve of a movie made? All these guys that people think they have some intimacy with them that they don't. People think that Shane Davis gives a shit one way or another if they tweet at him, one day or not. They don't care. None of these guys really care. They say they do, but they care about the super chats. I don't
know if I would be that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know if I would be that skeptical of the motives.
There's I've met some of them, in cons. I met Andy Smith, and Andy Smith is an awesome guy. I met him.
I like his art.
Yeah. But he's a cool guy. The comic he's currently pushing is not really my thing. I'm not a sword and sorcery guy. But the thing about it is, though, is how can they? The intimacy that you're looking for is not there. And if you were get upset by something and walk away tomorrow, it's not like they're going to say, "Oh, well, maybe I should evaluate." They're not. Why should they? They're getting six-figure campaigns.
The only factor that's involved here that I have no experience with is what is it like to have fans that make you $1 million book?
I don't know. I don't have any perspective here. I can't evaluate that. But it's like I got squashed by a big creator. Really ended my world. Knocked me back to zero. And the hardest thing for me to understand was there was no animus there. For him, it was Tuesday. For me, it was like the end of everything
Really?
for foreseeable future, and knocked me back to zero. And 3 to 4 hard years of work gone. And but for him, it was just an afternoon, and it was just like one
Wow.
stray tweet.
Wow.
And for me to like, I can't understand what it's like to be that guy. I don't understand what it's like to, have that big of a target on my back. I don't, and for a while I like blamed him for it, and had like hard feelings. But then the hardest thing for me to understand is that, get all ego aside, I don't understand what it's like to be this person. I don't understand that was just this afternoon, that there was no animus there, because he doesn't know who the hell I am. And even if I were to bring up the situation, he wouldn't know who I was now.
Right. I got you.
And that's hard for your ego to think that you're that expendable. And I had this conversation with this person. I even exchanged DMs with this person, but then I told him, I was like, I don't agree with this stance, and I'm probably not going to be backing you in the future. It's like, oh well, it's not going to hurt his bottom line at all, whether he makes his choice or not. And even though I backed every book that he's put out, I'm just a number on a stat sheet. I mean, there's no personal, I didn't hurt his feelings or anything. I didn't hurt his feelings or anything. But somebody like you, if I say that, I don't agree with this stance, it's that I'm not going to back your book further, that hurts. That matters.
Right.
And so why am I like expanding so much effort on these guys that I'm just the number on a stat sheet when I can pour into people like you who do just as good of work and better in a lot of ways, and are doing such brilliance? I mean, why don't I like make my focus on people like you, people like Eric Ninoltowski, people like Luke Stone Studios and Hybrids, or company men from Kimosabi, or or even Vaughn. I mean, Vaughn knows my name. Vaughn knows when I back him or not, even though he's a bigger creator.
Yes.
But I've interacted with him, and if I have a concern, Vaughn's going to like jump right on it. But some of these guys, they got names on mainstream books. I mean, that level of notoriety, that's something I can't even conceive of.
Sure.
And
there's also the thing I was bringing up is there is a factor involved where if you have a ton of fans, they have not demands, but they have things they want to put on you, right? And so at a certain point, they're like famous this much.
Yeah.
Unlike we're zero famous, right? So like that's a thing they have to contend with.
Yeah.
So which I don't have any experience with.
I mean, I don't understand what it's like to have 1,000 people in my chat. You're throwing money at me. I don't.
Right.
I guess I would probably like throw everything to the side and do live streams every night if that was happening. It
would change your perspective.
It would definitely.
You go where the money is, and it would just be a thing. You become that thing.
Right. I mean, I can't. I see these guys taking shots at these larger creators. One of the big massive ones in our arena, and there's like this big kaiju fight going on, and we're like down here ground level, trying to avoid the falling masonry, and it's like so why are we attributing like sentiment where there is no sentiment? There couldn't be. There literally couldn't be. But people like you, and that's why I'm doing this series, is I want to talk to people who, if I have a concern, it's going to matter. Why am I not talking to people who never sniffed the mainstream, but are putting out work like this? Well, and I mean, I'm all about what's next, and this is what's next. Okay. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see the next big thing coming from the old the old big thing. And I really honestly think that the next thing is going to come from somebody who never darkened the door of DC or Marvel or Image or any of the other comic creators. I think the next big thing is going to come from somebody like you, who even though they're working a day job, spent hours and hours in the dark rendering frames of a movie that they wasn't even sure anybody was going to see, but spent so much time on making sure the canvas on the freaking wagon ruffled right in the wind. That's who I want to push, okay? I don't want to push somebody that's going to put out a comic book that's just oodles and oodles of incredible art, but I can put it down because I have no investment. Oh, another 8 guys got slaughtered by this mysterious being, you know, in really cool ways, really interesting ways. And wow, that panel was really well constructed. But, you know, they got 6 figures. They got a payday. And part of it was for me. But, you know, my review, well, that's not going to reach his ears. If it does, it's like, well, they got like 100 other people that are going like, oh, this is the best comic I've ever seen. You know, whacking off to it, you know,
Right.
because it's incredible art and that's all they care about. I mean, why would they care about somebody that wants them to have a story, that wants them to have characters?
I'll tell you, I really appreciate your feedback. It reinforces a lot of the things I tried to do. Do people even see it? Right. And my hope is that the first book, I think a lot of creators are like my point of view, as like I'm going to describe, is that when you put out your first book, you show people you can deliver.
Yeah.
And it's something of quality to a certain degree or whatever. And then that the next book, which I'm working on right now, I've learned my lessons and I'm listening to people give me feedback and I'm trying to, you know, take it to heart and give something.
Well, the thing about it is, though, is we're doing stuff on the back end. We're doing stuff for posterity, you know, because we're not going to be big when we start out.
Right.
And, you know, nobody starts out like, you know, on the top floor. You know, well, some people do, but that's rare.
Sure.
But, you know, the thing about it is everybody that gets your comic is going to talk to other people about it because it's just that damn good.
Thank you. I you know, you can only hope that people like it, right? I mean,
well, yeah.
You know, some of the people that I like, I know got it, never said anything. You know, maybe they never read it.
Well, they didn't read it. I guarantee they didn't read it because trust me, if you read this comic, you would want to talk about it.
Even my friend, my best friend, he reads comic books, and he gave me a thumbs up, and I was like, you know, you're just my buddy. You know, come on. He's like,
well,
you know,
Matt, people can care about you or be your friend and still give you. It's maybe you're just good. Maybe it's good, Matt.
That's true. Know? That is true. And you know what? My aunt, like I told you, who doesn't read comic books, she went back and read it more than once, maybe 3 times she read it. And she wouldn't, I know she's my aunt, but she was very constructive about what she told me, right? And why she related to the character. And I was like, so when I got that feedback, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So the elements I tried to make the story with, those I think those might have worked. Right. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? It's like, because you don't know if you're making something and people are going to respond to it. You just don't know. Well,
you, if you want to be technical about it, you had a 3-act structure. You had initiating action, you had rising action, and you had climax. And you had the smaller units. And, you know, every chapter had a beginning, a middle, and an end. Even though it was continuing story, every character had believable arc. Every character, the dialogue was individual enough that even when I didn't know the character was speaking, I knew who was speaking. which is really rare. Trust me.
That's cool.
And every attention to detail was not lost on me, you know. But writing wise, I could tell that you basically had a detailed breakdowns on not only who this person is now, but who they were and who they're going to be. Yeah, I could tell that you had that locked down.
You can see that. That's cool because that is something I thought about, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you knew who she was, and you know you're starting to understand who she's going to have to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I even got the world building, you know.
Yes, there's a couple. Yeah.
I mean, the weird cult, when you brought them up, and they had like their own little liturgy, and that's writing. That's all really good writing. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke, man. I can tell you exactly the technical things that you did well, as well as, you know, the visceral things. You nailed the technical, you nailed the world building, and you nailed the characters, and
Thanks.
even down to like the guy in the wheelchair. What is
the mole?
Yeah. You even nailed down the fact that he has a bit of a southern accent. And so I could tell that he is not originally from Detroit, but he's a transplant to Detroit. Now, how did I do that? How did I figure that out? You know, about his backstory, if you didn't write it so well.
Right. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, and that was one of the things I think a lot of creators will make their books, and we don't really get feedback, good or bad.
You know, I got one the other day, a PDF, and these guys wanted me to do a review of it, and I said I can't. If I do this, I'll tank your book, because this was a chore to get through.
Mm.
And I was like, everything's derivative. Nothing was nailed down. Your character is basically a mainstream comic character that you just transplanted into your universe. You didn't even change anything about them, except that you made them nude half the time. And and so when I say these things about these books, I'm not going from the point of view of I hate your guts, so I'm going to say something bad about your book, which is stupid. Okay. If I compliment your book, if you hear from me and you had a smaller book, that means because I really liked your book enough I wanted to push it. And I think I can help by pushing your book.
Right.
And or I can't hurt you. You know. I mean, Shane Davis put out the best book I got from any of the ex-mainstream pros. And that was Starlight Cats. It was a really, really good book. But then, on the heels of that, he put out Inglorious Rex, which was one of the worst books I've gotten from a mainstream comic producer. And then somebody the other day was like saying, I got this book, and I asked them, I went into the DMs and I was like, what did you like about this book? And then I was like, I pointed out all the issues I had, and they're like, I had the same issues. I was like, well, why did you compliment him? You know, why are you saying this book is so great? You know, he said, well, I did enjoy the art. And I was like,
right.
I was like, you're not helping them at all. And Shane lives right down the road from me with a driving distance, you know, short jaunt down the road.
Oh, wow.
Probably about an hour, 45 minutes, maybe hour and a half.
Okay.
But highway, he just lives. I know where he lives. At least I know the city he lives in. But you know, the thing about it is, though, is when you see, you know, something really good that somebody spent time on, that somebody that doesn't have, like, you know, that has a day job.
I don't have a day job.
Well, When you did all this, you did.
No, no,
You didn't. Okay. Well, you maybe you're independently wealthy. I don't know.
I am not. That's the problem. That's the problem. I mean,
So you don't work for a living? You don't work for a living? This is your full-time job? Really?
What happened was I worked for years in post-production.
Oh,
I saved my
okay.
money. But the reason I had to move and I bought this house here, which is a brand new house, God smiled upon me. Okay.
Okay.
I made enough money with my house in Michigan to buy this house.
Right.
So anyway, fucking brand new house, brand new neighborhood.
Yeah.
I have to take it. So, but I need to make money on my books, and I've got to do it. So I made enough money in the past, but now's the time where it's.
Well, with your 3D modeling skills, I am very shocked that you're not covered up with that kind of work.
Well, you know what it is. If I started working for companies, making money with CG doing commissions, it's not that much, right? No. I mean, I could be doing it, but I don't make for the amount of effort I put in. Let's say 2 weeks of work.
Yeah.
My commission rate's $700 minus the taxes.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up long term, right? So it's like either I get a job with the company and start doing that stuff, or I make enough money on my book, right? So that's my goal. That's my hope.
Well, I'm trying to help you get there, but I'm just going to feature, upcoming weeks. I'm going to try to get some guys in that who made books that I really enjoyed, really respected, and really want more people to see.
Awesome.
But the question does keep coming up. Where can I get Shadowpunk? So what are your plans on that?
So if you want a copy of the book, you can contact me on X with I'm at Shadowpunk Comic.
Okay.
And just DM me if you want a copy. That'd be awesome. And then I am working on issue number 2 right now. The entire book is written and completely laid out.
There you go.
And quasi lettered at this point.
Okay.
But now I'm going to start doing the actual artwork. And then that's kind of where I am. So.
All right. Awesome. Looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that. Well, anyway, thank you for coming on the show, Mr. Shadowpunk.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Out with me. Fortunately, Drunk Craig is on a beach vacation, so I didn't have to deal with, suddenly my internet dropping out because he's, surfing Netflix, or YouTube. I pay for Netflix, but all he watches is YouTube free. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but anyway, yeah, thank you for coming on. I really hope that this will garner you some sales or garner you some interest, and I'm gonna keep pushing this book. This is by far the best book I've gotten out of CG, and maybe mainstream comics. Period.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate it.
Everything that you did, all the concern, all the obsessiveness that you put into this book shows. And not just blowing smoke. I honestly, that's my assessment. It's the best book I've gotten.
Thank you.
John's Long Box. As many comics you've seen to him, you see how many comics he's got. And
big time.
And he was blown away by it.
He said he liked it a lot, and that really meant a lot to me. And I really do appreciate the feedback. Right, I wish more people would say that sucked or I liked it. Right.
Well, I try to when I can. But if like I said, that's my rule. If me saying it sucks hurts you, bottom line, then I won't say it. In public.
There's no point.
In private.
Yeah.
I'm not out to hurt people. I'm out to help people get better. But yeah, as for that, I'm gonna try to get some of these guys in whose books just blew me away.
Cool.
And who are not like mainstream pros, and it's going to matter to them. I could get maybe if I begged some of these mainstream pros on here, maybe I get more subs that way. But that's not what this channel's about. This channel's about lifting people up from the indie spheres that maybe have never had a chance to have spotlight on them, and so you're
going to find a lot of people like that.
There are a ton. and the number's growing every day. As I get books in, I've had some, like, I would love to get Carlo Rowe in. I need to get in touch with him about Death Sworn.
Okay.
You want to talk? He was just as obsessive with that book as you were obsessive with Shadowpunk.
Really?
He disappeared for years, and
this guy
stopped streaming and stuff like that. And but when I got that book, I was like, he spent all that time on that book.
Really?
It is really, really incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What a crazy way to get a project done, right?
I know, just completely, totally. But he got like 6 figures, I think. He was one of the early big book number guys, and he was pushed by EVS back when EVS was pushing artist, new artist. And it's a great book. I'm very impressed with it. If I ever see a campaign for book 2, I'll definitely back it. But I'm going to try to get these guys on and try to make this a series. Unsung creators that you may not have known, might not have heard of.
Good idea.
The best unsung creators. There's some other ones that I need to get a hold of, and I want to push. I've already done some like reviews of them. Bancroft's, Lucent. It was my other big favorite.
Big time.
That was an incredible book.
But he's not unsung because he made a lot of money and he's quite well known now, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's big.
Well, I mean, he doesn't really need a push from me, but there might be people stumble across my channel that's not in the mainstream circles that I might be able to shine some light.
Sure.
So but I'm just looking for books that are just like really blew me away, and the Lucent definitely blew me away.
Big time. Big time.
But yeah, so people like that. Hybrids. Luke Stone's Studios, that book. He's known more for FMC these days, but Hybrids was one of my first big favorite book where I bought everything coming, that he came out with, including variant covers and stuff like that. I even designed a character for his universe. I hope he writes him in there soon. But yeah, people like Eric Nonotowski and the Satyr Sentries, every bit as awesome as any book I've ever seen from EVS. I mean, you like the image style, and it's also very well written.
The art, I didn't get the book, but I remember the artwork being awesome.
I'll get the book.
Epic
get
level.
the book. Get both of them. Both book 1 and 2, and he's got a third book that I've already backed. Company Man, I'm looking forward to book 2. He needs to get that, come out with that. I know he's been like busy last year, keeping his head above the water with all these kids. He's a breeder. But anyway, but yeah, Kimosabe, that book really awesome. The Embrace, Dean James's book. I really enjoyed that one. Maybe get Dean James on. He's kind of a big YouTuber now, so he probably won't be interested. But if I can get Kimosabe, I might be able to get Dean James.
Definitely. It's been so long since we've seen Kimosabe. I would be cool to see him.
Yeah. I've had some conversations with him, certainly. But yeah, those are guys just off the top of my head that I definitely want to talk to. If I can ever get a Nathan Rosario, if I can get Nathan Rosario, Stump. I love Stump. Man, I love Stump. You want to talk about a unique character?
Talked about that one, yeah.
You talk about a unique character. I mean, he is like a Midwest Hulk. Okay.
Right. That's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, he's wearing flannel, he's wearing jeans or whatever, and in a wife beater shirt, and his solution to everything is punch it. Did that work? Nope. Okay, we'll figure something out. I love it. That's his philosophy. Punch it first, and if it doesn't go down, okay. Now what? Now what do I do? Love that. philosophy. But he's a great character. Great character. But I'd love to get Nathan on. But I just love pushing these books that, you know, I mean, Vaughn's Castle, he'll come on my show, I'm sure. I've already had him on once. But I love Monster MD. I love his Terror in the Trenches. I didn't get Kentaro Witch Hunter. It just looked too anime for me. I didn't really like the style. But he's an awesome writer. I love his stuff. I'd love to get Eric Weathers on Battle Big Road.
Sure.
I haven't backed book 2 because I'm waiting for him to come to FMC and do a campaign at FMC. But I like the first book a lot. I thought he stopped 2 pages too early though. You know, there's like an action that he stopped right before, and I was like, dude.
Really?
All your advertisements said that you're gonna like feature this guy, and then you stop right before we get to see anything. It's like, God, you know, miscalculation to me.
Probably.
But I want the second book. I just I'm not gonna back Indiegogo if I can help it. That's a personal philosophy. But if it comes to FMC, I'm backing that sucker. Anyway. And if you want my $1, if you want me to back your book, coming to FMC is a good way to do that. Hopefully we can get Aaron's Pendragon over there.
Yeah.
Definitely want to back that book. That book is incredible looking.
It looks great, and I mean, I've been retweeting it because Aaron's not as great at retweeting all his stuff.
No.
And I was like, you know what, dude, it looks awesome. What are you waiting for? Do it.
Well, I can tell you from reading some of his scripts, and I read the very first script that he did for Pendragon, and he's got game. That kid's got some serious game.
I believe it.
I mean, he had like it's funny. There's a script that he read to us, and I was like, whatever happened to that? And he's like, it's on the floor over here. And I was like, you mean you write so many awesome scripts like that, and you just got them laying around? You suck, you know?
Big time. I believe it. I totally believe it.
But yeah, he's definitely somebody I want to have on. Wolfsbane is a good comic, but I think it was kind of him, like, you know, trying out some stuff, you know, kind of spreading his wings and getting his feet wet. But I mean, there's so many awesome writers and creator artists like you that I just I could like fill up this space for, you know, weeks and weeks. And you know, John's Longbox, I want to have him on, talk about, you know, heroic tales, and, you know, I know he'll be up for that. But I don't have his book yet, but I got somebody like that with that much passion, that much love for comics. I just can't see anything bad coming from him. It's just got to be awesome. No doubt.
I think at bare minimum it's going to be really good.
Right? Yeah, at the bare minimum, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's without even reading anything. I can just tell it's put together well.
Well, the guy with that much love for comics in his heart,
right?
You know, whatever comes out of it, it's just going to have that level of passion. I just don't see anything that's not calculated. Plus, he does have an editor. He does have an editor. I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody that, you know, I respect. So he thought enough to have a editor. So, you know, that tells me something right there. I did have an editor, but he disappeared on me. Poor Normie. Wherever you are, Normie, come back to me, man. Still looking for him. Anyway, but thank you for coming. I hope I didn't talk your ear off and waste your time.
Look, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. I always appreciate when you come on my shows, even though you like throwing down conspiracy theories, but you won't come on my conspiracy theory show.
Well, you know what it is too, is that especially after the last couple of years, I've come to the conclusion generally I don't really want to be a YouTuber. And I understand why people do it completely.
Well, I mean, coming on like being a co-host on a show. I mean, that's not a
That's
you know, that's like that's like beginning. That's like low impact there. You
well,
know,
yeah, I don't know. It's a different thing.
we're doing Philadelphia experiment tomorrow night. Come on now, tell me that doesn't intrigue you a little bit.
I don't know. I don't actually don't that one particular one. I don't know that much about it, which may be the reason I watch. Right. I mean, quite honestly, that's the one I kind of don't know. I know something about the movie with Michael Paré, but beyond that, it's like,
All right.
All
right. Well, anyway, it's a good way of advertising tomorrow night. Me and Wookie be on Cryptids and Conspiracies, and we are going to do the Philadelphia experiment. That's going to be tomorrow night. I think we moved to 7. I think we're going to be at 7. We're either 7 to 9 sometime, but I'll be advertising tomorrow. Me, Wiki doesn't really do the advertising or the research or well, anyway, it's not really an even distribution, kind of like me and Belmont was.
There you go.
Kind of like me and Belmont was, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's okay. I love delving into this stuff. But thank you for coming, though. We will see you. This has been Cooper for Telepathic Blinding Comics with Shadowpunk here. If you are interested in this incredible book right here, DM this dude. He's got copies. He'll send to you. And trust me, if you love comics, if you love good storytelling, and you love incredible art, that's a book that you want. Trust me, you'll want it. And hopefully, he doesn't run out of copies. I want to run on it though. I want to run on this comic. But anyway. But thank you all for coming. Thank you to Fluffiest Chat and all of YouTube for being hanging out with us. And we will see you next week. Follow the White Rabbit. Let me get this line up. Bye, everybody. See ya.